All right, so good afternoon and welcome to Train 'em Up Tuesdays and this Lunch and Learn. It is now about 8 minutes after 12, so I apologize for the late start. Right now we have Nora Wade on, we have Beatrice May on. So thank you guys for joining me. My name is Cynthia D. Williams, the Immediate Passage Director with District 18, and we are doing a 4-week Train 'em Up Tuesdays. We are on our last and final Tuesday of this Train 'em Up Tuesday, and we are recapping. So if you missed anything, no worries. We will touch on the recap since we have a small group today. What we'll do is we'll kind of ask questions about what they've heard, or questions about moving forward. If they have thoughts, ideas, concerns, or questions about district leadership as a whole. So let's do that. So what I wanted to share with you before we get started is B just jumped in, and what we were talking about was one of the slides we'll do a recap on the roles of the district leadership. One of the roles that the district leadership, or several of the roles that district leadership really doesn't tweak into, but it's there and available, and it's actually in Toastmasters International's structure as a recommended as a role, and that's the assistant director, program quality director, or assistant to the area director, program quality, and assistant to the area director, club growth director. It could be on the area level and on the division level to have an assistant. It is not accredited where you get credit for the role. However, through TI, however, it does give you a great forward look. So it gives you a chance to be able to participate in some of the district events, sit with an area director, work with a program quality director at the district level of the trio, and with the club growth director. And all, again, it's at the division and the district. It'll give you that insight, if you will, at the district level, and give you an idea on whether you want to pursue it moving forward. So that's what we were just talking about when you came on, B. So what we're going to do is, no worries, we're going to pull up the slide deck that we had going on throughout let me go ahead and dig it up. The whole Train 'em Up Tuesday session. So again, we started in early November, I guess the 9th. Let me go through, jump down to today. It's really quick. What I want to do is just go to today, which is the 7th of December. Man, the year is over, you guys. And we are here at this Lunch and Learn on the 7th of December. And what we're going to do is just a recap. Some of the things that we jumped into on the prior Tuesdays. We took a deep dive into district management, the district structure, leadership roles and responsibilities, the district events and recognition. And now we're on the recap. So what I want to do is just dive into that. We started off in our journey in this Train 'em Up Tuesdays with district management and district structure. We talked about the nuts and bolts of the district team, finding out what is expected and what's expected of us as district leaders, and what's expected of the membership for the district leaders in the district as a whole. We learned about the lay of the land, knowing up front, teaching everyone what to expect, like I said, but up front, who, the what, the when, the how, in each leadership role, and the reality that the district has to face with the responsibilities and accomplishments they have to recognize. Let me just make sure no one's knocking on the door. Perfect. And then we talked about leading effectively and the district term. So in order to lead effectively, you have to know your roles. You have to know the roles within the responsibility that you have and those around you. The appropriate procedures that actually impact the role that you're holding on to. And again, those around you, because you want to know as a team, a teammate, how their role impacts your role. So we talked about leading effectively and knowing the ins and outs. Then we went on to learn about the terms of the district leaders. We talked about when it started and when it ended, and then I asked the audience, and I'll ask again, what is the significance of after 1 September? Nora shared that answer, so I'm going to throw her back out there again if she could just share with us, what's the significance of after the 1st of September?
Okay, so if they take office after September 1st, they cannot get credit for that role. So they have to be they have to be in office by September 1st. Also, they have to be a member of a club in good standing in the district in which they are serving. That's very important for people who are stepping up into leadership roles from outside of our district.
Yeah, very important now that we are in this virtual platform, in this reality. So thank you, Nora, for that. So those are some of the things we touched. I'm gonna take a pause for the calls and see if B, any questions around anything we've shared so far. So good, so good. Okay, so far so good. Okay. So we dug a little deeper into management. What I shared here when we touched on this on the first Tuesday is the resources that are available, readily and available for all district leaders. So we always say you're in this for yourself, but not by yourself. Some of the things we say, but you're never alone with district leadership. So if you're apprehensive about stepping into district leadership, know that everyone started with a little apprehensive, but they once they got dove in, they realized that the governing documents of TI was there, the atmosphere of learning was all around them. They had the district mission to kind of fill off on or drive to, and anything around it from the Distinguished District Program, everything that you had questions about, even your successor or you being the successor and you being of your predecessor, everything you had questions about, there were plethora of resources out there. Not only are those documents in the website, but you also have those who came before you. You have your people, that your peers on your side of you. Everyone is always willing to help. So you're never in this alone. So this is one of the things we wanted to kind of reiterate and emphasize to all those who are looking to step up into district leadership. We definitely care that you care enough to be concerned and apprehensive, because that means you just care that much. You want to make sure you get it right and do it right. So we appreciate that. But just know that you're not doing it by yourself and with empty hands. All right, we went on from there to talk about the structure of the district. District structure is, we know that the foundation, usually think it would be the leadership, but it's not. It's actually the member. Toastmasters International would not exist as an organization if members did not exist. So the members are the foundation. They're the rock. They started. In order to have a club, you have to have members. So again, members start this. The members are the heart of Toastmasters International. From the members, you have your clubs. From the clubs are the areas. In order for an area to exist, you have to have clubs, because in an area, you have to have anywhere between no less than 4 and no more than 6 in order to call yourself an area. An area is ran by area directors, which are appointed in District 18. It may be different in a little other districts, so everybody do a little bit different, and you have that option, but area directors are appointed by the district director in District 18. The areas are oversaw or supported by the divisions. The divisions, again, in order to have a division, you have to have 3 to 5 areas, I believe. 3 to 5 areas to make up a division. Divisions are letters and areas are numbers in District 18. So all of those 4 club members, clubs, area, and the division makes up the district. And District 18, we have a total of 7 divisions, 26 areas, several clubs, and over 2,200 members in those clubs. All right, we can go and learn about the regions, the board of directors, and headquarters further. I really dive into that, but that's where the structure is. And again, it's listed here. I'm going to just point out one of the things when we started, again, I mentioned about the assistant area director, program quality director, assistant area director, club growth. And if you see it on the left side, you'll see it is under the division council as well. Again, we don't use this much, we don't see it much, but it is definitely there. I did share a document with the the leadership group on the Slack. Am I saying it right? On the Slack platform, that gives a little bit of detail on what to expect from an assistant area director, program and club growth director. Nora?
Yes, I just want to point out that you shared that document with me.
Oh,
Not in the leadership channel. What you need to now, what I can do, I think I can post it in the leadership channel for you.
okay, that
Right.
will work. That will work. And I'll make sure Kathleen has it too, just in case someone inquires about this conversation once they were to review this slide deck. So she'll have it to be able to share. All right, so let's press forward. So that's the structure, and this map is available in both the club leadership handbook and the district leadership handbook. So it's always accessible. Nothing in Toastmasters, nothing you can think of has to do with Toastmasters is untouchable. All you have to do is put it in the search box. Most times it'll pop up, be ready and available to you. We went on next to talk about the next week to talk about the district executive committee or the district council or the district roles in general. Again, I'm wrapping it up. I'm recapping. So I just kind of pulled out slides from previous. What I wanted to show here is how you already have what it takes in order to step into district leadership. And I say that because this correlation here. Let's look at the club leaders and compare them to the district leaders. If you're a president, that will correlate to the district director. Some of the same duties and responsibility. You have the vision, you set the tone, you take on all the hard questions, and you make the tough decisions. So that's your president, that's your district director. Your vice president of education correlates to your program quality director. Some of the things I can pull out as far as a vice president of education does is that they lead club contests. They chair that. They oversee it. They appoint the people. They select the committees to a vice president of education. So you're helping make sure that club contest runs smooth. Same thing for the club program quality director. One of their duties is to put on the conference, which encompasses that district contest, if that makes sense. So again, a lot of the duties correlate. So again, you already have what it takes. Let's jump down to the secretary. The secretary of a club secretary, you are taking notes, you're taking the minutes, you're projecting the minutes, you're sharing the minutes, you're giving all of this. You're making sure the the officer's name are submitted to headquarters. The district administrative manager, again, take notes, take minutes, submit the minutes, share the minutes, and make sure everything that needs to be where it is to the district director and or headquarters are in place and intact. Treasurer, district finance manager, you're handling the fiduciary responsibilities. You have your vice president of public relations inside the club that correlates to the district public relations manager. All the district leader roles that are listed here are roles that get credit from Toastmasters International for participating and leading those roles. There are several other roles within the district, which is, to give you an example, like logistics. For logistics, you can correlate that to your sergeant at arms within your club. They are handling your day-to-day operations, making sure everything is set up and run well. They're looking for locations to host things such as that. But you have those like a logistics manager in the district that do not get credit for it. But again, it's always a learning experience and you grow from that. So don't take it lightly. All right, so we talked about the roles. I'm going to take a pause for the cause and see if you have any questions about district management, responsibilities, and structure or roles. And we went over the roles individually from the area director to the division director, talked about some of their requirements and roles. So that I'll stop here. Are there any questions about anything that we just did a recap on? Let me check the chat box. Oh, my audio is getting, how's my audio? Is it better? Still so, okay, great. So I'm gonna, didn't hear anything, I didn't see any hands raised, so I'm gonna press on, but no, don't hesitate to jump in and stop me if you have a question. All right, so I just wanted to kind of read this leadership educational philosophy before I go on to the next thing we tackled. This is leaders achieve results for their districts by giving priority attention to the needs of their members and fellow district leaders. Consider yourself a steward of the district's resources, human, financial, and physical. Leadership is a lifelong journey that includes a desire to serve others and a commitment to lead. Strive to be trustworthy, self-aware, humble, caring, visionary, empowering, and relational. So just wanted to kind of drill that into you, that you gain so much when you help others, when you put others' needs before yours. But at the same time, I always call it goals, growing others and leading self. Don't forget about yourself, because you get a lot out of this too. Being in a district leadership is very challenging because you are working with other people and trying to make other people meet their needs and happy, if you will. But at the same time, it is so rewarding at the end of the race when you see people have succeeded and exceeded their goals. So it is a very warm and fuzzy feeling on the inside. I'm going to pause there and see if we can open up dialogue at this point. So let me stop sharing the screen for a second. All right, so Kathleen Davis joined us. Hi, Kathleen, welcome.
Hello, sorry I'm late.
No worries, no worries, no worries. We have a new face in the place, and that's B. So I'm going to move this over so I can pick up my screen and see everybody. Let's take a backtrack even more. I want to go here and talk about this before we go into what it takes to sign up, fill out applications, and be a part of the district leadership for the upcoming year. 22, 23. Man, ooh, I'm scared to say 22, 23. Time is flying. One of the slides we talked about when we were going through our weeks of Train 'em Up Tuesdays, I want to recap on here, is things to consider. This is powerful. I'm going to make it big. When you are considering, and you're sitting back there, you're thinking, okay, yeah, I'm going to, I'm gonna do it. But one of the things I want you to remember, I want you to just take note of, like I said, things to consider. Three things actually: is your family, your work, and your availability. This is not only powerful, but this is a must, is the word I'm looking for. Things to consider. Consider your family. So if you're thinking about stepping into district leadership, consider this. Consider your significant other, your spouse, your children, and your parent. Did you ever stop and think, okay, yes, I'm gonna go for district leadership, or not even just in Toastmasters, but you're ready for the next step and you're gonna start to apply for upward mobility within your job? Did you or have you stopped to think about, well, let me talk with my spouse or my significant other about it? Have you stopped to even consider your schedule with your children? Or maybe you are you're doing elder care. Maybe you have parents living with you. Did that ever cross your mind that those are persons that you need to reach out to and have this discussion with about something you want to do, about you growing you? Are you, just kind of open up the dialogue. Have you seen this? Have you done this? Have you just brushed it off because it's for you? You said, well, I want to grow. What does it matter to anyone else? Anyone have anything to say to that?
I've definitely had a conversation. It's now been 17 years. 17 years in Toastmasters. And every year I let my significant other know that I am staying with Toastmasters and I'm taking on another leadership role. And this is what I'm going to do. And there will be additional meetings, not just regular club meetings, but I am mindful of that. So just because in this way, I don't feel the guilt, because sometimes there's things that he may want to do, but just understand if I commit to something, I do want to move forward with it. So yes, every year I had that discussion.
Well said, B. Thank you for sharing that. I'm gonna share mine and I'm gonna open it up to someone else. So I can tell you, when I first did area director, first of all, I didn't know what it was, but I was asked to help. I was asked to help an area director. And I said, okay, I can help you since I have a little bit more leeway of getting in and out of the building, because we are a corporate club and I could get out during the day and she couldn't as much. So I was going to help her. But then this division director at the time said, well, if she's willing to help you, just ask her to be an area director because we're one short. So that's how I ended up being the area director the first go round. But mind you, I was well after 1 September. I didn't come in until November. So I didn't get credit, but it didn't matter. I jumped in and I read everything, make sure this is something I can do. And I said, okay, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I'm reading it. And then I came back to Miss Patrice, and the division director at the time was Rhonda Moore. And I said, yes, I'll do it. No problem. I think I can handle this. These are the clubs you want me to tackle. And they're right around the corner. I can leave noon days, whatever the case may be. So I did that. But however, I made that decision at work. Like 3 days after they asked me, I was reading about it, everything at work while I was at work, doing it at work. So I didn't come home and ask my husband. I believe my mom may have been living with me at the time. I didn't consult with her. Again, I didn't know what it was. I just knew that I'm a help aide and I'm always willing to assist. And in that parameters, in those requirements, it said that I needed responsibilities that it said it had that I needed to do. I saw that I could do those things, so I did it. And I didn't have that discussion. And lo and behold, years down the line, as I'm taking on roles and now know to consider these things, I realized that there was a little touchy in that first year I took on area director, but you never, hindsight is everything, because you never know, because most people don't tell you when they're mad at you for something you're doing that's productive. Make sense? So yeah, things to consider. And I didn't do that first year because I didn't know to do it, but now I'm making sure I tell everybody who's considering it, these are the things you need to consider. Anyone else want to expand and jump in? Kathleen?
I can expand on that. So I did the same thing when I became an area director. I just literally jumped into the pool, and I didn't even know that there was life outside my club at the time. And I was like, wait a minute, I could do that. What's this about? Still, I had no idea the time commitments and what I would have to do, even though I went through and read all the requirements. And I thought, oh, okay, well, this is still workable. And then they got to the, well, you need to go and actually visit the clubs. And I went, whoa, boy, some of these clubs are over an hour away from me. How am I going to do this with work and so on and so forth? So I was able to work it through, which was great. But then as I've continued on, I've noticed that a lot of folks do not consult with their other family members or other commitments that they are doing, and to keep that kind of time management with, you know, family, work life, and other commitments as well. And I was fortunate enough for myself that I didn't have to ask anybody's permission or discuss with anybody. I just went forth and said, okay, well, I'll figure this out between work and everything else. However, now that being at this higher level within the DAC, what I have found is that the balance is a little trickier when it comes to taking care of myself, because I'm so focused on everybody else. I'm so available, you know, by all of my different communication avenues, and I jump on those very, you know, fairly quickly. So I'm very accessible, but then I end up losing myself and the time that I need to do all of the other things that I have already committed to. So that's where I find that, yeah, it takes some work, and you have to remember to definitely pencil time in for yourself first every single week when you're doing your scheduling and calendars and all that good stuff. So that for me is still a challenge. And now having additional loved ones, it's like, sorry, I have another TLI or I have another speech contest. We can have a date in about a month. So if you're willing to be patient, we can go out then. So it is definitely a challenge.
It is. And something you said that I'm gonna have to add to this slide is self-care.
Self-care. Yep.
I like that. Nora, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I guess I'll just make a similar remark. I think Kathleen and I are psychic twins or something like that. Because I have the same problem with taking care of myself. I mean, this past weekend is a prime example. I had an accident and I fell down the stairs into my basement. So I've got fractured wrist and dislocated finger, and thankfully no other major injuries. And I'm like, okay, I found myself immediately slowing down because I have no other choice. I can't move faster. I have to type with one hand. So it's taken me forever to send emails and things to people because it's just one hand. But at least I've got two fingers I can use on this one. But I was very lucky, very, very lucky. It could have ended differently. I could be dead. That's how bad the fall was.
Wow.
And so yeah, it's made me step back and think, holy cats. I have to slow down. I have to take care of me. And I haven't been doing a very good job at that. And so I know that one of my considerations is my own personal health, because there's other things I'm managing with my health that sometimes interfere with my ability to be present at every meeting and every event and just get everything down on that long list of things that I have to do, because I'm also an officer in a club and got to manage those responsibilities as well. And my own speeches and my own personal development. That's a lot of things to juggle.
Yes, definitely.
And work. Oh my God, work.
Yes, all of that.
It is a juggle, and you just have to do your best.
I love
and
it.
I think as long as you're doing your best, then that's great.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, everyone has a different amount of time that they're able to bring to the table. I have no one I'm taking care of right now, just my cats. So they're sort of understanding. You know, they expect to be fed and played with every day, but they're reasonable. So I can go to a lot of meetings and it's okay. But, you know, other people may have less time to give. And my concern is when we're looking for the next generation of leaders, I do not want to turn people off from stepping up because they feel that they have to give 3 hours a day or 2 hours a day. They're going to say no immediately. I can't give that. But if we say, do your best, you know, here's the responsibilities, you have people there to help you, do your best. And that's all we ask of you. Otherwise, I think we're going to continue to block out future leaders for people who can only give so much time, but they still want to help lead. I don't want to cut those people out because I'm worried that we're making it seem like it is a considerable amount of work. And maybe it is in the present state because maybe we do need those assistant area director roles filled and those assistant division director roles filled, maybe other roles to help out the leaders. If everyone is contributing a little bit, then maybe it takes the burden off all of us. So that's what my concern is. You've always going to have a couple of people who are just like go-getters and they do everything. People like Kathleen, I don't know how she stays standing upright sometimes with all the stuff that she's doing. We can't continue to put the burden of leadership on just a few extremely hardworking people who are willing to throw everything into it. Now, this is sounding like a rant, and I'm sorry, but we need to be mindful that we're not giving the impression that district leadership is unattainable unless you're willing to commit 2 to 3 hours a day on it. I think that's the wrong message to send. I'll mute myself now.
No, that was perfect. I mean, definitely, this is a safe space, and those are the things that need to be shared. Because while we don't want to turn anyone away, we do not. And the things to consider is definitely not something I want people to be a little leery about at this point. But I still want to be realistic that there are things you have to do prior to jumping in. So, of course, we talked about family. And then on the next bullet, it talks about work. And you touched on that, Nora. You touched on that, Kathleen. Managing your your work hours, talking with your manager. Is your manager in support of Toastmasters? Are they in support of you? Do they think your work ethics, and that's on here, are good enough to juggle? So these are the things you have to consider. Again, we definitely don't want to list it to deter you. We just want you to be realistic when you jump into this. Are you that organized person that can handle, have something dropped off of your plate will allow you to pick up something else? These are the things you want to think about. These are the things you want to make sure you are considering when you're moving forward, tackling anything, whether it's Toastmasters District Leadership or upward mobility at your job. Also, just to kind of expand on that, again, I had that flexibility at work. I had that manager. Everyone at CMS building knew Cynthia as the Toastmaster lady. So because I was so dived in, tuned in on my club level, I hadn't even got to the district yet. This is just on my club level, and they were calling me the Toastmaster lady. So at that point, when I was asked to be that area director that first year, and I dived in without speaking to my spouse, I had work hours flexibility. I would run out at lunchtime, but remember, I ran out to these lunch hour to these lunch club, to these noonday clubs, and I didn't have that conversation with my husband. So years down the line, I find out, hindsight is everything, that he was upset. Not that I didn't talk with him. He thought, where are you going to lunch every day with who? Yeah, right. And now years later, I'm trying to plead my case. I was where I said I was, So again, this is why I say, take these things into consideration. I am a living example. I experienced something that I thought was off the wall, but I'm glad we came to an agreement later that wasn't what the case is. But just to kind of throw some of these and make it, in light of it, but it's still a real deal. Things to consider. And also availability. Do you have the time? Right now we are virtual. We can travel around the world in less than 30 seconds and be there. But Toastmasters was born on in-person meetings where they want you to stand up at your lectern. They want you to be able to present. They want you to be able to handle that stage area. I can foresee a time where we can get back to that. We touched on it this past summer, so it can happen, and most likely it will happen once things kind of lift up. But do you have the time in your schedule? Are you considering traveling? Are you considering that travel time? How about those last minute unexpected things that pops up as a district leader that you maybe like Kathleen and myself are perfectionists, where we got to make sure it gets done. It's got to happen. So even though it was last minute, I'm there. So these are the things I want everyone to consider when you're moving into district leadership. So let's open the floor back up to the last things we spoke on: work availability, anything under that, or anything you thought of while I was speaking that you want to share about these before we move forward.
Funny.
Well, I'd like to, okay, go ahead, Dee.
I was going to say regarding work availability, which is why I was late today. Even though I blocked my calendar, it's a lunch hour, but unfortunately, people are used to me not taking lunch to try to get things done because I'm always in so many back-to-back meetings. Lunch is where I try to catch up and do something before all the other meetings. And so even though I have my calendar blocked, my manager scheduled a meeting. It's my manager. And so I was figuring, okay, maybe I could, start the Zoom on this screen, work on this screen. But she moved the meeting, but then it still ran late, which is why I was late. But so I could plan, even if I speak to her, things come up and it's just what happens. But at least I'm still here.
Yeah. And can you imagine, you're leading a conference, you're leading something, you are a facilitator, and work comes up. Man.
And it happens. It's
yes, exactly. So what do, right? And I know I've run into that where I got stuck at CMS. I couldn't get out, and I had to be in downtown Baltimore for MTA meeting, and I'm like calling on the other phone while I'm in front of my manager over here. Please, somebody, Kathleen helped save me one time. I didn't make it something we had because work kept me. Yeah, work kept me.
Friends. And that's why like you learn, you work together. And so make sure you have your buddy that you could always reach out to. You exchange those text numbers or whatever. And so
Yeah,
always have that person that can stand up and help you out in those unexpected times.
unexpected
We
times.
do
Well
need
said.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And we talked on the presidents last night, and Kathleen helped me see the buddy system. Hey, everybody pair up. Don't go in. Like I said, you're not in this alone, and don't tackle it as your district director alone. So as soon as you come in, find a mentor, find a buddy, find a group of people that you all can back each other up. Always have that. So that's good. Thank you for that point, B. Go ahead, Kathleen.
Well, I was just going to add a little bit on what Nora had said about not wanting people to have the misunderstanding of how much time it takes per each position, because each position is different and each person's situation is different. I'm very fortunate right now that while I'm teaching and I'm able to do that virtually, and I can do a lot of things from my home office, so I can be in many places multitasking all at the same time right now. Okay. Once we move sort of back to a more norm of the past, being in person and all of these different types of meetings, things are going to be different. Even for me, I might not be as accessible at that point because I might have other things going on. And, am I going to be able to travel as much to be able to get around to the various parts of the district and things of that nature? So that definitely is a huge concern for me as an individual. And I have to look at that for the future and what that could potentially look like. And also still championing the fact that we have a hybrid situation now, is the future, has been the present, and guess what? Was a huge part of the past that most people didn't participate in. And there are skills there to learn as well. So it's not one or the other is better. Both types of situations are good. However, I want to make sure, I like what Nora had said about moving forward, reminding folks, think about your own personal situation. This is where you need to be organized. And this is part of your leadership growth, is learning how to be organized and manage your time as well as taking care of yourself, which is why I wanted the entire deck this year to have a support buddy. So they wouldn't forget about themselves. Somebody who is there to remind them, hey, what about you? When's the last time you did a speech? What are you working on? What's your future look like for you individually?
I love it. You said so many things to point. So I hope that resonated with the audience once they listen to the recording. But even before I call on Nora, because Nora had her hand raised, and when I talk about the things to consider here, everything that's listed here, when you're considering these things, don't just think of them as a roadblock. Don't think of them as a roadblock. Think of, they can be a positive light as well. What it can do when you're considering your family, your spouse, your significant other, your trip partner, that's open communication. Think of it in a positive light. Your work, managing your work hours, work ethics, flexibility, manager. That right there makes you reassess and assess yourself. So think of it in a positive light. If you go over to time travel, last minute unexpected things, we may be thinking about, oh, now I got to put my car on the road, these things. But again, in that, it helps you, again, sit down and actually enhances your skill around time management, being able to map things out prior to just jumping in. So it's a positive in this as well. When I say things to consider, it's not to be a roadblock, but things to consider can be, one, enhance your skills, your way of thinking, your communication, but at the same time, you're open up and you to make sure everyone is well aware of what you're doing and you can actually manage those things within those. Nora, you're up.
So I thought I heard you use the phrase time travel. That would solve all of my problems. But I don't think that's what you meant. Now, I wanted to go back to something Kathleen touched upon in her response regarding returning to, the way things were before. I personally believe that the way forward is hybrid. I don't think we could go back to strictly in person. And I hope that's not the direction the district is thinking about, because being hybrid would help a lot of people. It would solve a lot of issues with regards to travel and availability, because you could always join something from online as opposed to being there in person. And I'm hoping that's the way forward that we're going to explore as for our district. I know that a lot of people, I've met people who are just absolutely tired of online. They want to be in person. They're itching to go back to in person, and that's great. But I also think that we should always encourage clubs to consider a hybrid format if they're able to make it work. And that's why the work for the hybrid committee is so important, to make recommendations to the clubs. Not every club has the knowledge to make a hybrid meeting work. So I don't want to rant on and on about hybrid meetings, but I'm thinking that if we consider that our future is a hybrid one, then we can make the travel problem disappear, I think, personally.
Well said, well said. And Marie, thank you for joining. We're doing a recap, so just dive in where you like. But we touched on things to consider, so let's see what's next. Let me move forward. One of the things, let me just check the time. I wanted to recap on. Okay, 12:50, excellent. I wanted to go to one of the tools. We touched on timelines on the president's call last night. And I want to just continue to emphasize the tools and resources that the district has when you step up to district leadership, because I want, we talked about things to consider, but I want you to think about, because a lot of several people have apprehension. Again, they have this reluctance to step up because they don't know much about it. One of the things I want to share about Toastmasters is if you can think of something, a good, a bad, or an indifferent, an issue, a concern, a question, or even an accolade, an accomplishment. If you type it into the search box on Toastmasters International, anything you can think of, I promise you in Toastmasters, it has happened. And you can find a plethora of information about what you need to do in order to tackle it, in order to lift it up, or in order to make it your own, so you can give someone some accommodation, not accommodations, but just recommendations, recognition, and all of that. But one of the things that I love the most is the timeline. When you step up into district leadership, just like when you were in leadership at your club level, you had the timeline in the club leadership handbook. In the district leadership handbook, it has the timeline as well. And I have posted here on the screen how detailed it is. It has every month of your term in here, and it will give you specific detail deadlines down to the important tasks you need to do in order to meet those deadlines. This timeline is so prominent. It is so the thing to have. It's a must. So I'm to the point where I can call it my Bible, my Toastmasters Bible, because it can lead you and guide you through the whole year and keep you on task and organized, even for the person that's not organized. So let's just kind of expand on the timeline experience. And I'll start with Kathleen.
So I live by these timelines for both the district as well as for the club. And I'm a huge proponent of using these on a regular basis, which is one of the reasons why I actually like to put the different items that are needed to be done. Look, Nora's hugging her Bible. That need to be done in the newsletter for the, for the clubs to help them out. And I had actually done the same thing for the district.
Mhm.
However, that was not shared with the other deck officers, unfortunately, which I think is a mistake and should be for the next year and upcoming, time frame. But I live by this, and I think that anybody who's running for a deck position should understand this, because it maps out your whole year. It already tells you what you need to be prepared with. And you can then backtrack your months and say, okay, I need to start focusing on this because I have this coming up in a couple of months. And it just helps you stay more organized, more focused, and it's already written right there for you. And then anything else you want to do is just on top of that. So the timeline to me is the utmost importance of what you're doing throughout the year. Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So thank
And
you
it's
for
color
sharing.
coded. I
Oh,
mean,
yes.
who doesn't love a good color coding?
It's for everyone. So all of those color-coded dots in the district leadership handbook,
Yes.
it designates who belongs to the dot. So whether you're the district director, if you're
Right.
blue, PQD, or purple, whatever the case may be, but it's for everyone.
Yes.
Everyone all the way over to the public relations manager, because they'll tell you when you should start promoting the district conference, if you will. So it's for everyone in district leadership, and it's a tool that you just can't be without. Anyone else want to expand on the resources that Toastmaster has for the timeline? I'm going to open it up. Nora?
I can't stop talking.
No, please don't.
This is one of the side effects of being in Toastmasters. I think you mentioned it, but this timeline and the color coding and everything, it's also in the club leader handbook. And as someone who's also a club leader, this is helpful too. I do have to remind myself sometimes to look at it instead of going from my memory, which is faulty sometimes. But it's a good resource. It's a tried and true resource. It's been tested for years and years and years. So it works. So I encourage people to follow it. And yeah, so many resources available. It's out there. I will say this is a slight dig at the TI website. Their search function needs some help. I was diving into the resources section, the resource library last night, trying to find something for another club. And I had to keep searching and searching, putting in different terms until I found it, because it wasn't easy to find. But yeah, that's my only minor complaint. Oh, it's like picture in picture, neat.
It's funny for the search. I usually do a Google search when I'm looking for Toastmasters information, and I seem to have more hits that way.
So when I want to be precise, that's what I'll do. I'll jump over to Google. But what I like about Toastmasters International search engine is that it gives me so many choices. It gives me so many things to choose from that has my keyword in it. And I always end up clicking on one and I stumble over something that it's an aha moment for me. So that's why I like and I promote, that's why I promote the Toastmasters International search engine, because it gives you so many options to choose from for your search word. And I almost always, more often than not, stumble over something that made me go, oh, it has my attention for the rest of the night. So I'm going to open it up. This has concluded our presentation for Training Up Tuesdays Lunch and Learns. I'm going to open it up for anything that's on your heart. So let's do it this way. Let's go down my screen, since we have 4 minutes left, and just give the audience, from those who are on the call, a takeaway that you think that they should know that you learned from this Training Up Tuesday these last 4 to 5 weeks. I'll start at the top of my screen. It's B. Velmay, and yours may have been just tonight, B, but please share.
I'll remember to use Toastmasters search engine.
I like it. All right. Next on my list is Norway.
Anne Marie has her hand raised. Maybe
she sure does. Let's ask. She might have a question prior to closing it out. So Anne Marie, your hand is up. Go ahead. You have the floor. Come off of mute.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for having these training up session. I missed a couple of them, and I went to the Toastmasters website and I couldn't find it. So I'd like to know if I can get direction into where to find it.
I'll turn it over to Kathleen.
Absolutely, Anne Marie. They are not on the District 18 website yet. They are on the District 18 YouTube channel. So you could go to YouTube and type in District 18, and we have been uploading them there, and it's free to watch. So please feel free to click on those. And when we're in the process of getting them linked to the District 18 website with Cynthia's lovely picture, as well as additional information for the DLC and next year's leadership group. So thank you for asking that. That was an excellent question. And Cynthia, I just wanted to let you know, there's one too many P's in your email.
PPDD.
I was like, how many? What? Your I don't even know.
Yeah, immediate past district director. So yeah, there's an extra P in there. That was intentional. That way all the emails disappear. She does that.
That's right. Because I PPDD.
So my final lunch and learn summary, if you will, is that, first of all, Cynthia, thank you so much for doing this for District 18 and for Toastmasters overall. I think this was a fabulous idea that you came up with, and I hope that we will continue to move this forward, because there's so much information in here. And Anne Marie's got the love sign, absolutely, that many of us who are not in Toastmasters as long as some others, and we never had this. We never had the opportunity to see the whole picture before we went into training after already accepting a position or trying to go for a position, depending if it was voted upon or not. So this is absolutely fantastic. I think it gives people a much better idea of what the leadership is about and how everyone can make a difference with that. So I applaud you, and I'm very excited about this, and I hope that everybody who's been able to come to the Lunch and Learns, as well as those who are able to watch them later, will see what I'm talking about and learn a lot more about their district and about Toastmasters leadership overall, and that for you, it is obtainable as well. So never shy away from that.
And Nora will close us out.
I just wanted to make a comment about that. I think we learn a lot from each other. And I want to continue the conversations on leadership. This is why I created a leadership channel on the District 18 Slack workspace. So if you're not already in it, please join in, and we can continue the conversation there. I think this absolutely was fantastic. It helped me, learn some things and reinforce, my desire to move forward in leadership and not be afraid, because I'll have people to hold my hand. And this is how we learn. So thank you so much, Cynthia, for doing this. I really appreciate it. And let's just keep the conversation going on leadership.
Definitely. So I want to thank you all for showing up. Those who showed up previous Tuesdays, today's Tuesday, I really appreciate it. And I definitely appreciate District 18's trio for allowing me to do so, for running with my idea. So thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day. Enjoy your terrific Tuesday. And tomorrow, work it out Wednesday.